Evil has a name, evil has a face. Evil is evil, and it doesn't discriminate. In the shadowy corners of human tragedy lies a chilling question. How could a mother, the very symbol of care and protection, take the life of her own child? Today's episode, 5 mothers who killed their children. I am your host, Bad Guy the Entertainer, aka Mr. Hate. Call me what you wanna call me. And ladies, Margaret, I see you there, Margaret. Grab your cup of tea, make sure it's Yorkshire. Let's begin. In a case that has sent shockwaves through both the United States and the United Kingdom, Kimberly Singular, a 36-year-old mother from Colorado, people, stands accused of committing an unthinkable crime: the murder of her youngest children and the attempted murder of her eldest. This deeply disturbing tale unfolds against a backdrop of desperation, betrayal, and a frantic attempt to escape justice. The chilling account began to unravel after Singular's 11-year-old daughter, identified only as MW, was transferred into foster care. It was there that MW confided in a caretaker, revealing a dark truth. Her mother had killed her 9-year-old daughter, Ellie, and 7-year-old son, Aiden, in their Colorado apartment. According to court testimony, Singular had told her children to drink milk laced with powder and close their eyes as she led them to the bedroom. NW recalled her mother explaining that God was telling her to do it and that she feared the children's father would take them away. These harrowing details were presented by prosecutor Joel Smith during an extradition hearing in London, where Singular had fled following the killings. On December 30th, she was arrested in an hotel, bringing her brief flight from justice to an end. The tragedy began shortly after midnight on December 19th when a 911 call reported a burglary at Singular's apartment in Colorado Springs. Upon arrival, authorities discovered a grim scene. Ellie and Aiden were found lifeless in bed. Both suffering from fatal wounds and stab injuries. Singular and MW were hospitalized for injuries. MW had been stabbed multiple times, while Singular's wounds were described as superficial. Initially, Singular claimed that a dark figure had broken into the apartment and attacked her and her family. A story she maintained to authorities while accusing her ex-husband, Kevin Wentz, of orchestrating the crime. However, the investigation quickly unraveled her claims. Police determined that the reports of a burglary was unfounded. Blood evidence and the weapons matched Singular and her children, and Went's alibi, verified through GPS tracking of his truck, cleared him of any involvement. Initially, MW had supported her mother's story, telling officers that an intruder had broken in through the patio, but in people the safety of a foster care worker. She revealed the truth. Her mother had instructed her to lie. The young girl described the horror of begging her mother to spare her life as Singular turned a knife on her. Good God. Leaving her with serious injuries. Faced with mounting evidence, Singular fled to the United Kingdom. She's fucked off, people. Excuse the French ladies. Excuse my French. Emotional, yeah. Where she was eventually apprehended in court. Her defense lawyer, prominent attorney known for representing controversial figures, argued that Singular had been coerced into a false confession by police and insisted the man said she was forced or coerced into a false confession by police, and insisted that she had not harmed her children. How, people? How could a mother turn on her own children? Was this driven by fear, delusion, or something far darker? The night of June 6, 1997 should have been one of celebration for 18-year-old Melissa Drexler, a high school senior attending her prom at the Aberdeen Township Banquet Hall in New Jersey. Surrounded by friends and classmates, Melissa was poised to enjoy the memorable evening. But the night took a horrifying turn behind closed doors. Unbeknownst to anyone, Melissa had been hiding a secret, people. She was hiding something. She was pregnant. Shagging in high school, are we? Naughty girl. Shagging before marriage? As the music played and the festivities continued outside, she quietly slipped away to the women's bathroom. In the solitude of a bathroom stall, Melissa gave birth to a baby boy in just 20 to 30 minutes. Good Lord. Afterward, she reportedly told a friend waiting outside the store, "Go tell the boys I be right out." Inside that bathroom, Melissa faced the harsh reality of her pregnancy in the most shocking way. After delivering her son, she used a metal sanitary napkin box to cut the umbilical cord. A maintenance worker later discovered the lifeless body of the baby in a trash bag. Upon Upon further investigation, Upon further investigation, it was revealed the baby had been born alive or had been strangled to death. The discovery rocked the community and drew national outrage. What made it even more chilling was that after the baby's death, Melissa returned to the dance floor as nothing had happened. Her ability to conceal the pregnancy and the casual way in which she resumed her prom night left many in disbelief. Lord, demons walk amongst. Initially charged with murder, Melissa ultimately pled guilty to aggravated manslaughter in 1998. In court, she expressed deep remorse for her actions, acknowledging the horror she had caused. The court sentenced her to 15 years in prison. The bitch, send her to prison for a goddamn long time. But with the possibility of parole after 3 years. You won't like this, people. After serving 37 months, she was released on parole in November 2001. But Melissa's story remains a haunting tale of fear, secrecy, and tragic choices. A reminder of the complex emotional and psychological struggles that can lead to such unthinkable actions. Maxine Robinson, 35, from Chesterley Street, County Durham, has confessed to the unthinkable, taking the lives of all 3 of her children. Good Lord. In a heartbreaking turn of events, Robinson admitted to the murder of her 9-month-old daughter Victoria, a death once thought to be a tragic cut death, as well as the killings of her 2 younger children, Anthony, 5 months, and Christine, 19 months, in 1993. The deaths of Victoria, Anthony, and Christine were initially shrouded in mystery. You like that one, ladies? Made it rhyme. Anyway, let's get serious. Victoria's death in 1989 was believed to be a sudden and unexplained cut death, while the deaths of Anthony and Christine were originally thought to be from natural causes. In prison, Robinson made a shocking confession. She admitted that she had smothered Victoria as well as Anthony and Christine in their sleep. The cases, particularly Victoria's, had remained unsolved until Robinson's confession in 2003, which reopened investigations into the tragic events. Robinson's legal team had urged her to claim diminished responsibility for her actions, citing her mental health and emotional struggles. But despite their advice, Robinson chose to plead guilty to the murders, insisting she needed to take full responsibility and be punished to the extreme. Punish her, punish the bitch. She said she had felt isolated and unable to cope when she took her children's lives, a sentiment she repeated in reference to both the death of Victoria and the subsequent deaths of Anthony and Christine. Robinson had been convicted of murdering Anthony and Christina in 1995, receiving the life sentence, but it was only in prison years later that she confessed to the first devastating death of Victoria. The revelation shocked her ex-husband, Les Cope, who had never suspected foul play in Victoria's death and had been shattered by the loss. After the tragedy, the couple's marriage collapsed and Robertson remarried before having Anthony and Christine with her second husband, Peter Robertson. Lord, she's a wicked one. Her actions have left behind a trail of devastation, with her ex-husband, family, and the local community struggling to come to terms with the truth. In November 1994, Susan Smith claimed her sons, 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex, were taken by a black man after a carjacking Union, South Carolina. People, it turns out she was a goddamn lying bitch. Anyway, days later, authorities discovered the truth. As they should. Susan Smith had rolled her car into the John D. Long Lake, drowning her children while they sat strapped in their car seats. What followed was a media frenzy and an internationally watched trial, despite evidence suggesting Susan had been struggling with depression and suicidal thoughts. Prosecutors argue she killed her sons because her relationship had ended. That's why she killed them, people. Her relationship had ended and she didn't want to be a mother anymore. In 1995, she was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. Praise Mr. Jesus. Over the years, Susan Smith had served her time in relative isolation, facing occasional disciplinary charges, including her recent punishment of communicating with a documentary filmmaker. These conversations revealed disturbing details, how she described planning to jump from a bridge while holding the boys before one woke up. Despite the restrictions, Susan had continued to focus on herself, according to court records. David Smith, her ex-husband, and the boy's father spoke before the parole board, opposing the goddamn release. He argued that 30 years in prison was far too little for the loss of his children. That's only 15 years per child. He said, it's just not enough. Susan Smith's remorseful testimony, filled with tears and pleas for forgiveness, stood in stark contrast to the hurt she inflicted people. I know, she said, I know that what I did was horrible. She told the board. She spoke of her faith, expressing that God had forgiven her. But many people question the sincerity behind her actions. Prosecutor Tommy Pope, who sought the death penalty in Smith's original trial, reminded the court that jurors had believed life imprisonment was the harshest punishment. The board denied Smith's parole. Thank you. Reaffirming that 3 decades behind bars was not enough to account for the lives she ended. In the heart of North London, a story of neglect, abuse and tragedy unfolded, centered around Tracy Connolly, a woman whose life was marred by a troubled upbringing. Born in Leicester, Tracy emerged from a family riddled with dysfunction. A father who was a convicted sex offender, and a mother who failed to provide the nurturing, environment every child deserves. As a child, Tracy was in and out of social services, escaping homes where love was scarce. Yet, despite her turbulent beginnings, she yearned for connection and stability. At just 16, she married a man 17 years her senior, hoping for a fresh start. Oh, she likes them older. Most women like their men older, by the way. Anyway, her and him had a son named Peter. He was born in 2006. She proclaimed her joy, calling motherhood the best chapter of her life. However, behind the facade of happiness lay a grim reality. Tracy became entangled with Stephen Barker, a man with his own dark past. And her priorities shifted. Instead of nurturing her son, she spent her days indulging in alcohol and fleeting pleasures, neglecting the very child she once cherished. The nightmare reached its peak on August 3rd, 2007, where baby P, aka Peter, was found lifeless in his cot. Barker and Owen, both of whom were eventually convicted, but Tracy Connolly, this disgusting piece of shit, just lay in a bed, had been deliberately blind to what was happening to her son, colluding in a cover-up with her lover, and deceiving social services about who exactly was living in her home. In the 2 weeks before Peter, baby P, died, her obsession with Barker was total. In one internet entry, she said she was madly in love with the most amazing guy, and my fella is nuts. It was at this point that the final attacks on the toddler were taking place. In the aftermath, the legal system took its course, people. In the aftermath, the legal system took its course, and Tracy was convicted of allowing the death of her son. The judge looked at her, said to her, "You're selfish, calculating, and manipulative." People look at her, spit on her. "You disgusting piece of..."